Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I could. My name is Michael Magaletta. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I went to Rensselaer RPI undergrad for physics. I've always been interested in physics and space and just the fact that we can understand the universe and make an impact in it. And I've always thought that the space industry and the traveling to space is the coolest thing that we're doing right now as a species. So the fact that I'm able to be in a position to go into the space industry has been a no-brainer for me.
Do you remember where your passion for space first started? Was it like, did somebody have an influence on you, or some event, or something you read, or anything like that?
I was a very young, no, literally like as a small child, I remember little picture science books about space, and I just thought that that was really, really fascinating before I could even articulate why. And then when I got a little older and understood, that we have gone to the moon and what that means, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's it. So ever, and no one person in particular. So it was just space is always called.
When Jeff Bezos talks about his space passions, he likes to say that you don't choose your passions choose you. What do you think about that?
Entirely, for sure. There's a Carl Sagan quote that I've had on my phone for years. It says basically that we are a way for the universe to know itself. Insofar as the fact that we are able to have this level of understanding comes from the universe, and there's a oneness for the fact that we have this desire to understand and go back to space where we came from. Um, all of this was very much outside of my choice. I just feel like I'm along for the journey,
Yeah, it's a good thing that we are alive during this age where we can actually do something about it.
right?
Well, I guess the first question I have for you is, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
Oh yeah. As soon as the Artemis program was announced, I heard about it, and then all of my friends and people who also know me and know space, like, hey, did you know we're going back to the moon? So yeah, it's been really exciting.
What do you think about it?
Um, I think that we shouldn't have ever left. I think that since space travel is more or less inevitable, it's an extension of our venturing from Africa. We're still spreading and finding ourselves and finding our place in the cosmos. So I think that space travel is as inevitable and as part of being human as anything that we've done. So we need to be in space. We need to stay in space. So we need to continue to go.
I have talked to some people that are doubters. I remember early on, whenever I started this project, one person told me, "We messed up the Earth. We shouldn't mess up the moon too." And I was just kind of curious, and what your reaction to such a statement might be.
Couldn't disagree more. I mean, yeah, we've made mistakes, but we have also had way more of than our fair share of triumphs here on Earth, and we will continue to do that in space. And also just our natural curiosity and desire to discover the unknown. uh, we're going no matter what. I think that space journey and all of this is just in our DNA, more or less. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, it feels inevitable too now, for sure, especially with all the different organizations that are, expanding into space and the moon. Um, some people have questions about why are we going, and I was wondering if you had a favorite answer to that.
Why we're going to space? I think, yeah, I kind of alluded to earlier. I think that we are drawn to it by the same the curiosity that forged, these thinking beings. It's what got us here. It's what's bringing us in this. It's the reason that we've left and expanded and colonized the whole planet. Space travel is inevitable. It's part of who we are to grow. I think it's as natural as anything else.
That is interesting about us expanding, and that kind of touches on another topic, planetary protection. I was wondering if you had any feelings about that.
What do you mean? Like that we need to protect the climate, the environment? Of
Um,
course. I don't know specifically.
Trying to protect other planets and other places from life from Earth. You know, as we send probes out to these places and people, um, you know, the idea of kind of making sure we don't actually spread life. It seems like there's a tendency to want to keep all of life on Earth bottled up on the Earth as opposed to seeing it spread out to the rest of the universe.
I think it's a very there's a lot to it. For places that if it's possible that there's already life there, I do think it's very important to prevent contamination. I mean, if insofar as Earth diseases can be transmitted and caught, I mean, we've seen how badly diseases can ravage species populations that are new to it. But if we're going to for example Mars, if there's nothing there, we need to go. And then inevitability of us putting life on other planets, I think, is part of the process. I do think that there should be, if and when we find life that comes from another planet, there needs to be a great deal of understanding before we make direct contact. I think that that's extremely important. But for going towards what we consider to be more or less dead planets, we should bring life there.
So putting a sort of a zoo on the moon would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about where all this might be leading to, if we were to fast forward 200 years, what does humanity look like? How far will we have gotten?
I don't think we're leaving the solar system in 200 years, just because the next star is, on the light years of scale away. And I think that there's an entire leap of technology that needs to be had before we're doing that, because we're talking like generational ships and thousands of years of travel. But in 200 years, I definitely think we have permanent civilization, at least a permanent colony. Um, on Mars, I don't know whether or not the moon's going to be a place where it's just like government work or an actual colony of for different things. But for sure, I think that we have people living on Mars, and probably one of the moons of the gas giants, whichever ones are more hospitable. I don't think we'll have left the solar system though, but we'll be around, and we'll have left the asteroid belt or gone beyond the asteroid belt.
Do you think we might have a half marathon on the moon by then?
I was thinking about stuff like that, of like bowling or playing games and sports, and how different it would be. Of course, why not? Honestly, I mean, have to be some differences in certain aspects. I don't know how you can run under with like 1/6 gravity, because I think when the act of like pushing, I don't know, probably you would be hopping or something more than running, but definitely something. Maybe super heavy clothes do you have to wear to simulate your weight on Earth? But yeah, there'll be something. The Moon Olympics or the Mars Olympics.
I imagine that people running on the moon would be really pushing more forward than up. You know, their stride would have to be completely different.
Something. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the clips of the Apollo astronauts doing their moonwalk, and of course, the spacesuits are a lot clunkier than what people will eventually be able to wear up there. But the physics is the same, and they definitely didn't look super coordinated out there.
Right. But I mean, if you're in like a big enclosed interior and you're in normal clothes like you and I are in now, I think our experience would be quite a bit different than being in a pressurized suit that's, pushing against us.
Yeah, I would love to see space basketball. How high could people dunk on the moon?
That would be pretty crazy. Well, if you could, would you take a trip to space?
Immediately, for sure.
How far would you consider going?
It doesn't matter as far as I could go, as far as I would go. I just want to see. The thing that I'm most interested in is leaving the atmosphere, because I want to see the Earth as a sphere as it is in space, and I really want to see what the sun actually looks like without our atmosphere so reflecting the light and sort of affecting it. It's kind of interesting to think about the fact that we see the sun every day, but it doesn't actually look like what it looks like on Earth in space. So those are two things that I really would only need to go to orbit to be satisfied with, but I would go anywhere.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, you don't hear the astronauts really talk about looking at the sun. Um, I wonder, I wonder if they've not looked at it or, um,
Maybe it's possible that you still can't, the radiation, but what did that the idea of seeing the sun at night and just more or less naked in the universe as opposed to because it just dominates the sky and creates day, but there's still no day in space without an atmosphere to absorb that light. And I would do anything for that and to see the Earth from a distance.
I wonder if you mentioned you only need to get above the atmosphere for that, but I imagine there's so much light being reflected off of the Earth as well that it might make that experience maybe not what you think it would be, and that maybe you really would need to get further away from the Earth to be able to just see the sun.
Hopefully, I can find out.
Yeah, hopefully you can.
I'm fairly confident that by the time I am old, that there will be at least an orbiting hotel or something for tourists to spend a weekend, a month, whatever, in space or in orbit. That's why I expect to be able to see it for myself. It might take a few decades, but I believe in us.
I feel like it'd take a whole lot less if Starship actually becomes operational and you're having multiple flights per day with the same spacecraft. And that changes everything.
Yeah, right. Or if we get a little bit better with nanotech, with and we can create the space elevator, then we can have I don't know how much time and money, resources that would save, but being able to have a tether or something to something in orbit, so they don't have to exhaust all the fuel, which I know is like the majority of the weight and cost of travel right now.
And also, you could take a lot more delicate structures into space. They wouldn't have to experience the high G loads that you get from a rocket launch.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
well, Michael, that's all the questions I had. I could stop the recording unless you had something else you wanted to add.
Nothing off the top of my head. I really appreciate being able to participate in this. I can't wait to see what everybody else has to say.
But thank you so much. I'll go ahead and hit stop then.